Welcome to test number 11 in the Total Tactics FM23 Tactics series. This week comes off the heels of a very disappointing competition for me. I was in the FM playoffs in the group stages after being in the path to the playoffs, which I went 6-1 in to secure my spot in the tournament. I had a disappointing 2 wins, 1 draw, 2 losses performance in a PvP draft tournament. Now, this video is about the tactic that I played, and I still think the tactic is very good, that I had a lot of bad luck. I had a higher XG in almost every single one of my games, if not actually higher in every single one of my games, and didn't qualify for the knockouts based on a faulty offsides call that we've all seen many times in FM23. But I'm not here to complain about that. Instead, I'm here to share what I think is a very good wide diamond tactic that was developed here specifically for PvP. Now, a lot of the PvP, I made further changes to this tactic in the tournament that I think were a mistake, but this is the base version of the PvP tactic that I made for that tournament. So it tests very well against the AI, but this is the first tactic we've released on the channel that is specifically tuned for PvP. So now I'm aware that some of you might be playing this tactic against me in the future, and I'm okay with that. But let's get on with the tactic. All right, before I get into the details of the tactic, remember you can download all of the tactics in the Dropbox folder that's linked in the description, as well as from our Discord, where there is also a link in the description. Join the Discord and get involved. Share the results of your tactic tests. Download the Atalanta tactic tester as well, and just get involved. There's a lot of people willing to give advice to you on your tactics, even if you haven't tested them. So it's a great place to discuss kind of the nuts and bolts of Football Manager 23. Now, today's tactic is somewhat familiar to last week's tactic. And before I get accused of kind of just making a rerun, there are some key differences between this tactic and the 4-1-2 3-striker tactics before that also played double defensive winger. We have chosen fullbacks in this tactic, and we've dropped one of those strikers into a shadow striker role. Out of necessity, the shadow striker will play more defense than you think. And it kind of gives the strikers the ability to then just kind of press on their own without having to worry about necessarily defensive duties. But because they are pressing forwards, they will drop back into the midfield and try to collapse on top of those ball carriers from your opposition. So despite looking wide open in the midfield, those fullbacks will do more than you think, as will that shadow striker. So let's take a look at some of the specific instructions before we take a look at any highlights. Pass it shorter and shoot less often on both the pressing forwards. This is a pretty common instruction, and that passing shorter instruction encourages interplay between each other and with the shadow striker. You've got both defensive wingers here with a ton of extra instructions, and these instructions I think are very good, and especially roam from position. This will allow your defensive wingers to make these internal runs when necessary if the ball's coming down the right side in this example, and it means they'll tuck more inside here into this area to help fill the midfield if they are needed. So this roam from position will lead to some underlaps too, even though they're set to run wider. So it gives the position a lot of flexibility. And if you have the right player with off the ball and positioning and work rate in there, the defensive winger can do lots of great things. We also have a DM just taking fewer risks. Now these fullbacks have a lot of instructions. So taking fewer risks, crossing from deep. We don't want them really getting like down to the byline ever. We want them holding their position, sitting narrower too, to help the defensive wingers maybe cover the outside areas, and the fullbacks kind of catch people making these like Metzala and CM attack runs before they ever get to the ball playing defender. So you give the team a lot of option. It's the same on the other side as well. So one thing that I will point out that I also think is very important about this tactic is distribute to fullbacks. You want the pass going wide because what you want is the fullback playing it up to the defensive winger. we don't have a lot of space in the middle. You are going to be overloaded by defenders a lot in the middle. I think we defend the middle better than you would think, but when we're attacking, the DM and the Shadow Striker can get kind of smothered if they drop too deep or try to carry the ball through the middle. So you want your transition game going through your fullbacks out to the outside. So I think that's something that's really important. One of the things that I've also noticed is occasionally you want to also pick one of these focus plays. If you have a player you really want to be on the ball more often, then focus play down the left. See that goalkeeper and your DM and your ball playing defenders shuttle the ball out to the fullback on the left, up to the defensive winger on the left. Same thing on the right side. So utilize your personnel with this instruction, and that can help as well. So we are passing into space to make sure we get those balls in behind to those pressing forwards. Because we're playing pressing forwards, we are playing a higher defensive line and a high press. So this is pretty common. This is an instruction sheet we've seen many times before. So there are a lot of interesting things about this tactic, I think, but it's even more interesting when we look at some of the highlights. All right, we're going to start with this highlight with Hateboer collecting the ball in the back. He is playing as the hold position fullback as well, and he's going to play it back here to the defender to start the highlight. So Demiral starts with the ball, plays it across to Toloi. Toloi uses that ball-playing defender movement to take the space that's given to him. The Osimhen has pressured the right-sided defender, which gave Toloi a ton of space to kind of move up, right? So now, if you look at Muriel, he's got the defenders turned. This player has stepped up to mark our Shadow Striker, Malinovsky. And so Toloi has some passing options. Could lay it off short here for Koopmeiners, could spray it out wide here to Zappacosta, who's playing the defensive winger position, or play it up through the channel to Muriel. So we'll see how this unfolds. So he chooses Muriel, who kind of checked up his run, and then uses his pace to push through. Now he lays a ball off here for Zappacosta. It's a dangerous ball into space. It is kind of covered by Mario Rui. But two things are about to happen. One, pass into space is something we're seeing. But also, we have those defensive wingers set to take more risks. And because they're a defensive winger, they're going to press hard and they're going to tackle harder. So Zappacosta gives us a chance to win this ball back in the box too. So let's see what happens here on the rest of this highlight. Mario Rui does get there first, but Zappacosta doesn't give up on the play, whips that cross in off of Mario Rui's feet, and Duvan Zapata is waiting on the back post to score. So we saw a couple of the kind of tactical instructions come into play there on that highlight. All right, so this highlight starts from a wide free kick here, but it's not really a set piece routine because of how far away it is from goal. So Joachim Mela is playing as the left back, and then we kind of want to watch the movement here of Ademola Lookman, who is that roam from position defensive winger. And I think you'll see what I mean is what happens here. So Mela will take a rare chance to get reasonably deep as a fullback here in this play, which means Lookman is allowed to roam. And so Mela being right-footed, though, at one point does come into this tactic as into this highlight as well. So let's kind of watch it progress here. So Toloi has the ball here up to Mela, and here's where Mela makes his decision. There's space, so he goes, but he can't cross it because he's not left-footed. So he lets the marker get on the far side of him before checking the ball back. Now, if you kind of look what's happening up in here, is there are a lot of bodies that we can see. Lookman, Zapata, Malinovsky, Muriel, and then off camera up here is the other defensive winger. So it's pretty congested in the middle there. Mela checks it up to Koopmeiners, the DM. Koopmeiners is there, and he slips a nice little ball here to Lookman. And now we have, again, 5 attackers, 4 defenders. And part of that is because Hateboer, who's playing right midfield today, because defensive wingers tend to get fullbacks put there by the AI. Look how far inside he is tucked with roam from position, get further forward, take more risks. Hateboer is all the way up there, and he's pinning back their fullback too. So the fullbacks aren't going to be a part of the counterattack either because of how far Hateboer is pushing. So Lookman does a good job vision-wise here, pulls 2 defenders away, hooks the ball around them to Zapata, who scores. So I think a good highlight that also, again, shows some of the different instructions coming into play there, and something that shows some of the offensive firepower of this tactic. And, you know, again, having it move down the flanks and distribute wide in the tactic. So something to definitely pay attention to. All right, so we're going to show this highlight as one of the powers of switching. And so one of the things that I think happens is if you have actual wingers, they're going to be pretty wide, hugging the touchline, even when the ball's sort of on the other side of the pitch. But here, Toloy on the right side of defense has his defensive winger up here in the corner. This is Joaquim Mela playing as the left-sided defensive winger. So Mela up here is tucking inside because remember, he has that kind of roam from position. So he really turns on an easier switch here for Toloy, and that's where this play starts. So Toloy pushes up with that ball-playing defender mentality and then switches it to Mela. Now Mela here has a couple options. Because he's right-footed, going outside and taking this space isn't one of them. Passing it backwards to Jim City, who's standing in as the left back in this game, is one of the options. But also, Zapata being a pressing forward isn't going to offensively push the back line, right? So Zapata instead is going to make lateral runs. He's going to come deep a lot, especially in this area of the pitch as well, when the ball's kind of in this middle phase. But Ruslan Malinovsky, the shadow striker, is already getting on his horse, and you can tell that he sees space to exploit. So this is a simple pass into space highlight with a tucked inside defensive winger with roam from position who's going to find that pressing forward, who turns provider, and then just watch Malinovsky's finish. It is absurd. So there he goes, pulls a defender, Zapata plays the through ball into space, and then Malinovsky. Oh my goodness. What a chip by Ruslan Malinovsky, and what a great way to finish off the highlights. Let's, I guess a free highlight is playing right now that I've clicked by accident. Here goes Muriel. Muriel through. Pasalic is onto it, and he scores another Shadow Striker run. Mario Pasalic started the game at that position in a 3-0 win against Roma. But, all right, let's take a look at the results of the test. All right, here are the results. But before we do, just remember to subscribe to the channel. Click that like button on the video. It really helps visibility in the YouTube algorithm for you to do that. And please, please, please subscribe, as we are trying so hard to push towards 1,000 subscribers. Every subscriber matters at this point. And again, I haven't mentioned it this episode as well, but there's a link in the description for my Patreon as well. And I'd love to see you get involved there. There are 3 patrons to the channel now as well. So thank you so much to Mate Benchik, Ultra, and Hamza, Official H2 as well. Thank you for your Patreon support. So let's take a look at the results a little bit more in depth. Atalanta is league champions, as we've come to expect from these tests, with a strong 86-point showing and 55 goal difference. So pretty impressive numbers to start. Now, 27 wins, 5 draws, and 6 losses. And, you know, to Inter, Juventus, a couple in there as well. So some big teams beating us. We did concede 43 goals. So that is like a reasonably high number on a 38-game season. And it's not super high. It's kind of mid-table in terms of defensive performance here in Serie A. But we did score 98 goals on the season. So an excellent goal-scoring output. One of the things, too, that we'll see as we look at some of the stats is that Duvan Zapata missed 8 games in the season. So with Zapata missing so much time, maybe has like some impact on our output offensively, but he did have 20 goals in those 31 games and had an excellent XG in that time as well. Luis Muriel put in 28 as well. The assist coming from the defensive winger on the left, which is where Lookman played most of the time this season, to the tune of 13 assists, but they're coming from left back. They're coming from shadow striker. Those assists are coming from the right side. They're coming from the Hataboer as well. So all these assists coming from the channels. The strikers did not assist each other as much as we've been seeing on other tactics, and part of that is distribute down the flanks. We'll do that and get those players more involved. Only 3 assists for Muriel despite playing 37 games. A lot of these strikers are just finishers in this tactic, which is something I find really interesting about this build. If we also look again quickly at some of the Serie A stats, Luis Muriel did finish 3rd in the league scoring charts. Duvan Zapata led the league in average rating by a distance, and had the most player of match awards at 9, despite only playing 30 league games. So very impressive output by some of the attacking players here in the system, and something that I think makes this tactic something you should consider playing in your save. So if you give this tactic a try, let me know how it goes in the Discord. Let me know how it goes in the comments of the video as well. I'd love to hear from you about how this and other tactics have been performing for you. And once again, please subscribe to the channel and help move us forward in the new year as I bring you more Total Tactics videos and FM23 content. I will see you next week with another tactic, and bye-bye for now.